Imagine a world where every intense emotion you feel is instantly labeled, where passion becomes too much, where grief is dismissed as drama, where anger is called instability. Imagine how small that world becomes, not because women are shrinking, but because understanding is. For generations, women have been told a quiet lie, that emotional depth is dangerous, that intensity is chaos, that if we feel deeply, we must be broken. And the name society gave this myth changes over time, but the judgment stays the same. She's emotional. She's unstable. She's a hurricane. And once a woman is labeled a storm, everything she feels is treated as destruction. But storms don't come from nowhere. They form under pressure. They gather when energy has nowhere else to go. What we often call emotional chaos is emotional compression. Years of being told to soften our edges, to smile through discomfort, to explain ourselves calmly while our boundaries are crossed. Women were never taught to master emotion. We were taught to manage how others react to it. And that difference matters. Because when society is uncomfortable with female emotion, it does something subtle. It reframes expression as danger, agency as threat. Historically, when women expressed anger, they were diagnosed. When they expressed sadness, they were patronized. When they expressed desire, they were shamed. So we learned early. Feel quietly. Express politely. And never inconvenience the room. Over time, this creates a fracture inside us, a split between what we feel and what we believe we're allowed to express. We start editing ourselves, second-guessing instincts, distrusting intuition. And the world calls this emotional maturity. But it isn't. It's survival. In relationships, this myth becomes especially destructive. Because once a woman is labeled too emotional, she stops being heard. Her feelings become evidence against her credibility. Her reactions become proof of instability. And slowly, she begins to doubt herself. But here is where Stoic wisdom changes everything. Stoicism does not ask us to suppress emotion. It asks us to understand it. Emotions are not weaknesses. They are signals. They tell us when something matters, when a value has been crossed, when a boundary has been ignored. To feel deeply is not to lack control. It is to receive more information. The question is not whether you feel intensely. The question is whether you have been taught how to sit with that intensity. Stoic mastery is not emotional numbness. It is emotional sovereignty. It is the ability to observe what arises without becoming consumed by it. To respond instead of react. For women, this is revolutionary. because we were never taught to own our emotional landscape, only to justify it. Reclaiming emotional sovereignty begins with permission. Permission to feel fully without shame, not to explode, not to perform emotion for validation, but to listen. When anger arises, ask what it protects. When sadness appears, ask what has been lost. When intensity swells, ask what truth is demanding attention. This is not chaos. This is clarity waiting to be translated. A woman who understands her emotions is not a hurricane. She is a navigator. She knows when to hold steady, when to step away, when to speak. And in relationships, this changes the dynamic entirely. Because emotional depth stops being a battlefield and becomes a map. A stoic relationship is not one without emotion. It is one with responsibility. Both partners regulate themselves. Both partners stay present. No one is dismissed. No one is overwhelmed. This requires courage, especially for women who were taught that calm equals lovability. Sometimes calm is not maturity. Sometimes it is suppression. True mastery allows emotion to move without letting it rule. And when we dismantle the hurricane myth, something powerful happens. Women stop apologizing for their depth, and others stop fearing it. What remains is strength, not loud, not aggressive, but grounded. Because emotional depth, when understood, becomes wisdom. And wisdom, when embodied, becomes authority. So here's the invitation. Stop shrinking your emotional world to make others comfortable. Stop calling yourself too much. Stop internalizing labels that were never meant to help you grow. Learn to sit with your inner weather, not as a storm, but as a system you can understand. This is stoic strength. Not silence, not hardness, but clarity. Because when we stop calling women hurricanes, we finally learn how to read the sky.